just as a person, a human to human, all this bullshit, and I'm feeling it again. Oh my god, this is how I felt. Oh shit. Season 7 reunion. I was not even going to do this review. I'm tired. The reunion pissed me the hell off. But I said, you know what? No. I did a review for every damn episode. I suffered through anxiety, depression, happiness, all kind of shit reviewing this show. So I said, I'm going to end it with reviewing the reunion. And here we are. I got 4 pages of shit that I have to say. Because some of these Islanders done got me clear the F off. You might see my dog behind me. He is sleeping, so he may make a cameo in and out of the videos. It is what it is. We're just going to get straight into the Love Island USA Season 7 reunion. Oh my god, all the memories. I love these people, but they got me so angry. So I'm going to try to not read this list, but I'm going to have to. So in the beginning, the Islanders come in couple by couple. You know, you got Maya and Brian, the winners. You had Ace and Shelly come in with Clark and Taylor. Then you had the Casa guys come in. You had the Casa girls come in. Then you had Huda by herself. And I think Chris came in by himself, even though technically they were the last couple. Understandable, right? Right. So basically the reunion begins with the final 4 on the stage. But again, Huda and Chris are not together. They're not sitting together like all the other couples. So it's Chris, Brian and Amaya in the middle, and Huda. Then it's Ariana and Andy. So then it's the other 2 couples, which are Iris and Pepe, and Nick and Olandria. It makes sense that the final 4 are in the beginning of the interview, but it seems shady the way they set it up, because they had Ace and Shelly and Clark and Taylor go into a room, and they're like, oh wait, it's already started? Like, oh. So they're basically watching the reunion begin as a viewer, and they're not even on the stage. But it made sense, again, because this is the final 4, so they want to talk about that whole situation. I just thought it was kind of funny and slightly shady the way they presented it. So it starts off with them showing Nick and Olandria clips, like, you know, the clips that the fans were putting 2 and 2 together throughout the season, like in the beginning when Nick would pick Olandria for challenges and things of that nature, and how their budding romance started from the jump and they didn't even know it. I still call bullshit. I'm sorry, guys. I'm part of the people who do not believe this union. It is what it is. It's never going to change. Obviously, if they get married one day, like my friends swear they're going to get married, obviously it'll change. But right now, no. And then they're showing other clips like throughout the show, and it's making all my feelings come up again. You guys saw, for those of you who did see my reviews, I was stressed the fuck out. After every episode, I was pulling my hair out. Like, it was anxiety ridden. Like, I just felt all kind of emotions dealing with this show, with these people, with their actions, their lack of action, the love, the breakups, the get together, the recoupling, the sending them home, all this bullshit. And I'm feeling it again. Oh my god, this is how I felt. Oh shit. Okay, relax, Silent. This is just the reunion, and it's over after this. So they were showing all the clips throughout the season, and I was just like, oh my god, I was getting flashbacks, feeling. So I could only imagine what they felt like, having been through the actual shit that they're watching. Can I just say, to me, I had already felt like it was dumb for them to wait so long to air this reunion. But now that all this stuff has happened earlier today, if you guys have been following, earlier today, allegedly Pepe cheated on Iris with an NBC worker, female, blonde hair, and she unfollowed Pepe. And then Amaya and Brian unfollowed each other, allegedly. We don't know why. And just so much is going on within the 2 weeks that they were editing this damn reunion. It's like, no, they should have did this reunion the day of, or the next day. You know, the way they were doing the show, they were able to edit all that shit for the next episode. They could have done that with the reunion, because there's so much that happened in the last 2 weeks as well, with some of the Islanders on different podcasts. And, you know, there's just been so many changes. It's been changing almost daily with this cast. And so I just felt like in the beginning watching the reunion, like, this shit is old news already. Like, we already got new stuff that they're going through. Already new things where they hate each other for, or dislike each other, or whatever the case may be. So that's one part of it. But anyway, so they addressed Amaya and Brian and the cheating allegations, and Brian did say he had a lapse of judgment, which was at the bar when he was pouring the drinks on the women. Clearly, Amaya didn't really like it. She said, I want to be with a man who's going to respect, whatever, whatever. And he said, yeah, we spoke about it. I had a lapse of judgment, da da da. It seemed like he didn't really want to say that. Honestly, this is my whole take because I haven't spoken to you guys since we seen the show. I would do the reviews and that's it. We did the review of the finale and that was it. So now that a month or however long has passed, we can talk a little bit about the things that have happened. So I might as well address that while addressing the reunion or recapping it or whatever the case may be. I've always felt like the Nicolandria situation was put together by production. Even Nicolandria stands cannot say that that was a natural thing. It was production who forced them together because they said either you guys recouple together or go home. Nobody in their right mind is gonna pick to go home. They're gonna pick to recouple. Okay? So miss me with all the bullshit. I've said that from day one that it was a production thing and they just kept the ball going because even when they kissed and they said, "Oh, there was nothing there," they saying that she was thinking about Taylor and he was thinking about Ciara and that's why there were no sparks. Bullshit. They just didn't feel the sparks like that, and it's cool, it's fine. But then when both their people, when Taylor picked Clark, I picked Clark, and when Ciara got sent home because of her racist comments, which we're going to get into in a minute because Love Island is full of shit for not bringing her on the show, regardless of how you feel about her or what she did or didn't do. We're going to get into that in a minute. There's a lot I got to say. But anyway, um, so when Ciara got sent home, they were left alone. And obviously, what are they going to do? They're going to come together again. They want to stay in the villa. I don't care what you guys say. They want to stay. You want to stay. So what we're going to do, we're going to couple up. And they've still been coupling up. They don't even look like a real couple. They don't even act like a real couple. Yeah, they're going on these trips, but people do shit for PR. You got to understand. And I love them. I love them. I love this cast. I love these people. But you could call a spade, and you could call bullshit bullshit. And it is what it is. That's how I feel. And of course, I love the Maya Papaya, and I wanted her to find love and all of that. But from the jump, I had said, we could go back to my reviews. I had said I felt like Brian might have somewhat sort of been using the fact that she was the most liked Islander to his advantage. He was already on the outs with Adriana and how she was boring or whatever the case may be, which they clarified on the reunion, and we'll get to that in a minute. But I'm gonna go clarify it now. They said that it wasn't that she was boring or whatever. It's just they didn't have that connection. Excuse me. It wasn't that she was boring or anything per se. They just didn't have that connection in a romance sort of sense, which is natural. That happens sometimes. You might think someone looks fly and you want to get to know them. You get to know them and you just realize, we might be just better off friends. So that's cool. So they addressed that today. So that was cool. But anyway, back to what I was saying. So I had already been thinking, I don't know. It seemed like he might be swooping in because she's the most like Islander. He might be using her to his advantage. And Amaya, she just likes, when something seems right, she seems to really like the person in the moment, like, oh my God, they protected me, oh my God, that sort of thing. So I just felt like iffy. I grew to like them over the few episodes, but when you really think about it, they were only together less than a week, and then they won. And I think she won only because she was a Maya Papaya, and that's why they picked her to win. They wanted her to win so bad, they didn't give a shit who she was with. And that's how I felt in the beginning, but then I started to think, oh, well, maybe maybe. But then when they came out of the villa, it seemed a little funny. They were acting funny, in my opinion. They really weren't affectionate. They weren't, and I get relationships are different ways, are different. People do different things in relationships, and maybe they don't show it publicly. But it just seemed very forced and calculated, and it wasn't. I don't know. I just wasn't buying it. So over the past few weeks, I haven't really been buying their relationship. And we gotta stress the word relationship with all of these Islanders because they're not knowing each other for months and months on end or years on years on end. This is all still fresh. There still could be in that getting to know stage after leaving the villa. Like They're just known each other for a few weeks. That's nothing. In the real world, when you know someone a few weeks, you don't really know them. So you don't really be claiming people that fast. At least I don't. I mean, shit. But so we gotta understand that as well. But yeah, between all of that and just it just didn't feel real. Nicolandria didn't feel real. Iris and Pepe, I was just like, I guess. Ace and Shelly felt real, but I always felt like they felt real from the beginning. They just kept their options open. They really liked each other, but they still were exploring. And I had said that in all my reviews that they should have won regardless, because at least they were in it since the beginning. Amaya and Brian had just met a few days ago. Whatever, I trailed way behind. Let's get back to the review of the reunion. So then after that, they asked Iris about meeting up with TJ because that was the big thing, that she met up with TJ after the villa, and she basically said she just wanted to kind of give respect to what they had and talk to him face to face and kind of just have that closure, and she wanted to let him know that the feelings were real, and but now she's with Pepe and those feelings are real, which, respectable. We get it. Round of applause for that. And then they talk with Huda and Chris, and they ask, how does it feel? You guys haven't seen each other. And Huda's like, I feel fine. I feel fine. I noticed with Huda, listen, and I love Huda. I've always loved Huda from the jump, even when she would crash out, even when she had some kind of iffy ways about her, I was still riding with Huda. I still ride for Huda. But there comes a point in time where you have to take some sort of accountability. Like Huda, I don't know what the hell is going on, but she likes to play off like, I'm fine, I don't care. No, I don't mind. Yeah, I'm chilling, I'm good. And then she wants to play dumb when people call her out on stuff like, huh? What? Well, I'm sorry if I made you feel that way. I really do apologize. Girl, all you do is apologize every 5 fucking minutes. I love you, Huda. Damn, but damn, girl, damn. We gotta get this together. So anyway, she's like, I'm fine. And Chris is like, I'm not. I feel weird. Like, I felt like Huda was saying some stuff when she got out of the villa about me that I didn't really respect. I didn't respect it. And Huda did her Call Me Daddy, I believe, podcast. I believe it's called Call Me Daddy. Huda hadn't really done a lot of interviews, but she did the Call Me Daddy podcast, and that caused a lot of controversy with a lot of things she said, including the whole she felt bullied on the show, which we'll get into a little later. So Chris felt like her comments on the podcast were unwarranted and disrespectful. He didn't respect it, whatever the case may be. Huda apologized. She says she called him a few days before the reunion, and that was his issue as well. He was like, you had all this time to reach out to me outside of the villa, but you didn't do it until now, just a couple of days before this reunion. So he wasn't buying it. He felt like it was fake. And she said that she called him to apologize or whatever, and that's all she could do. But he wasn't buying it. And so I think it was Andy that asked Chris, could y'all be friends? Could you see yourself being friends? Do you forgive her? And Chris was like, no, I don't see us being friends. I don't want nobody like that in my life, but I can forgive. I'm a forgiving person, so I can forgive one day. So he stood on business with that. And it is what it is. Sometimes, I know we as viewers love the Islanders. I love them a lot. And I thought they were going to be like the best of friends coming out of the villa. It's unfortunate that a lot of them are not talking anymore and they're not going to ever talk again. But it is what it is in life. You don't always, sometimes friends are just for a season. Ooh, I felt a word coming on because I'm going through that with someone right now and it's hard. But yeah, sometimes friendships, love, whatever, is just for a season and it's not forever. And it's for a reason. So it is what it is. So then they bring out Clark, Taylor, Shelly, and Ace to the front, to the panel, from that back room where they were watching. And they bring up Taylor not really, they asked him, were you really torn between Clark and Alandria? Because a lot of fans felt like you weren't and that you were lying about your feelings with Alandria. And he said, no, I really was torn. And Alandria felt like, she was like, I don't know. I mean, in the moment, I felt like he was, but coming out and seeing clips and seeing things he said, particularly when he said that he wasn't physically attracted to her in the beginning of Love Island. And she felt like I'm not desperate. Ain't no need for me to be trying to chase someone who's not even physically attracted to me. So she felt like he wasn't really torn after seeing all those clips. So he apologized to her. She looked like she wasn't having it. A lot of these apologies were given, but the people who were giving the apologies, a lot of them were like side eyeing, like, yo, whatever, okay, I accept it, but I ain't really believing it. So then they come out and bring out Coco, Vanna, Jaden, Zach with a H, and then Zach with a K was on the Zoom, because if you guys have been following, he had missed his flight or something. Flight was delayed from Canada for the reunion, so he never actually had to make it to the actual reunion, but he was able to Zoom in. They brought out Coco, I said, JD, who else? Adriana, Grayson. So anyway, Coco and Alandria get into it, and they got into a pretty heated discussion, debate, whatever you want to call it, because Alandria felt like Coco went on her interview talking shit in a sense, but she felt like she was like, you didn't stand up for me for who you knew in the villa with our little connection that we had. You were talking on the edits of Alandria, not the real Alandria that you met, and that's what she wasn't really. She felt like she wasn't standing on business with that, and Coco was like, "No, I don't want you to feel this way." And anyway, it looked like Olandria was not trying to hear shit Coco had to say. She was not with the shits. She didn't give a damn. She was like, "Girl, bye," like whatever. You could tell she was just like, "I don't give a fuck whatever you say. It is what it is." You was talking shit, and Shelly joined in, and she was like, "You were also liking shady comments when there was a whole hate train on on Olandria and I, meaning Shelly and I, and you were liking comments saying, "Oh, Shelly should have been home. I should have, Coco should have stayed or whatever." That's kind of irrelevant because Coco was there for like two hours. I mean, like 2 episodes. You know, I'm not trying to be shady, but some of the Casa people, they weren't on the show enough. Like for me, Zach, he seems cool and everything, but why was he at the reunion? He didn't speak, and if he did speak, they didn't include him in the edit, so that was a waste of space. Also, you have Zach there and Elin there, and you're not talking about this whole little bromance slash gay rumors that are going around with them. They could have made something fun with that and discussed it because it's a hot topic on social media. But they didn't even do that. Or maybe they did and they just didn't include it in the edit. Whatever. The reunion was kind of half-assed if we want to keep it 100. I've seen better reunions. Yeah, they touched on stuff. But like I said, it felt too... It didn't feel current. There's just so much going on that it felt kind of like, eh. And then they were kind of stressing too much on other things that... Like, I feel like the Coco and Alandria thing, we don't give a shit. Like, that's irrelevant. You know, you could have spent more time on something else. But whatever. But it was also cool, you know, obviously to see this show that we saw for 2 months or however long we saw it, and these islanders that we love or whatever, and just see them reunite and hate each other. We also saw Amaya and Brian call out Zach with a K and say that he was only in it for the show. And Zach kind of was like, okay, and like, they look great together. It is what it is. So that was kind of irrelevant too, but I mean, I guess we could see that update. Then we also saw Jaden call out Austin. She felt like when they left the villa, she wanted to continue to whatever they had. And she told him he can see other women, just don't embarrass me, you know, like publicly. And of course, he embarrassed her and he went. It was this whole thing with this, I believe, TikTok or a live with a girl or something like that. He basically played Jaden publicly, like he was with other women. But again, Jaden, y'all just met like 2 days ago. Like, I don't know. Sometimes even us as viewers and even some of the islanders, they acting like they've been together for weeks and months and years, and you just met each other Tuesday and it's Wednesday night. So, I mean, it's give and take, but it is what it is. Then we go on to Shelly and Huda and the whole Chris thing. You know how Huda was like, I'm going to keep Chris so that I can explore him and you can explore him because I know you still like him, Shelly, or whatever. Shelly felt like Huda made it seem like it was all about her. Like, Shelly, I'm keeping Chris for you. I'm keeping him here for you so you can explore him. I know you like him. I'm keeping him here for you. when really it was for both of them. Huda says, I made that clear. They played an unreleased extended clip of Huda pulling Shelly aside, and she was indeed honest and upfront and said, look, you're not going to like this idea. You might not like this idea. You might think it's crazy. But I'm thinking I am interested in getting to know Chris. I know you are. He's interested in getting to know me and you. So let me keep him so that we can both explore him. Shelly felt like that is kind of weird, but it's kind of making sense as I'm processing it. Yeah, I guess, whatever. But Huda made it very clear it was for the both of us. She didn't say it was for you. So, but Shelly still stood her ground. She said, yes, that clip, but there was another moment where we were in the dressing room in the villa where you were telling me it was for me. So I felt like, sure, in that clip you said this, but other times you were acting like it was for me. I don't know. I wasn't there in those conversations, but I will say Huda did keep it very clear that it was for both of them in that one clip. So take that with what you may. But of course, when Shelly mentioned the dressing room conversation or whatever, Huda played dumb. Huda has this thing where she's like, what? Huh? I didn't, I don't know. I apologize if I make you feel that way. Huh? What? Girl, like, get your shit together, man. And I love Huda. Like, I'm speaking from love. But you gotta be held accountable. You gotta hold yourself accountable sometimes when you are indeed doing things shady. So, I don't know, but she did that a couple of times tonight, and it pissed me the hell off. But we're gonna get into that in a minute because it really pissed me off during the bullying conversation. As a matter of fact, let's just get into the bullying thing right now. I know it was later on in the reunion, but we're talking about it, and I want to address it. So, Andy asked Huda about the bullying statement that she made on the podcast. She said she felt bullied in the sense that she saw the clips when she came out, and this is where shit gets fucked up. I think everybody had their feelings or whatever in the villa, but then when they came out and they saw all the fan reactions, all the comments, all the videos like this, all the edits, all that comes into play and new feelings come into play. So Huda said she saw the clip like when she was working out and Shelly, Nick, Alandria and them were sitting there and they were like, she thinks we looking at her, but we not looking at her. We're not talking about her. But they were, obviously. So she felt like that was bullying in one thing. But again, that's a clip she's watching. When she left the villa, she didn't feel like that in the villa. So that's an interesting angle, the fact that it was off of a video. Then they talk about, Alandria addressed how she felt like they were indeed close in the villa because Andy did bring that up, that how they were close. And Huda was like, yeah, I love her. I loved her. She didn't say loved with an ED. She said, I love her or whatever. Yeah, we were close. But Alandria was like, I felt like we were close in the villa. And then when we came out the villa, we were cool still. And I spoke to you and I addressed the situation with your supporters, your fan base coming at me and Shelly, especially with the racism and the bullying stuff. And Huda told Alandria that she would address it and that she would make a post telling them whatever because she didn't stand for that. And so Alandria was like, that's cool. That's all I asked. Like, just tell them to chill on that or whatever. And then not only that, but she goes on the podcast and says bullying. She doesn't put the name on who the bullies were. And so it obviously made the fans think it was Alandria, Shelly, and certain people, which I did see that on social media. So she felt hurt. She was crying and everything, Alandria. And she was like, how could you not, I'm telling you, like, this racism they put in our face on George Floyd's head, and you're not even saying nothing. And she said that 3 days passed and Huda never made the post. She never acknowledged it or nothing. Huda then was like, I said it on a podcast, which Huda did say something about bullying on this podcast, which didn't get a lot of attention because I had seen the clip when it came out. But that podcast didn't get the attention that the Call Me Daddy podcast got, which is unfortunate because a lot of times when positivity is said, and I go through this often, I don't know if you guys follow me, but if you want to, you can follow me at travel.with.silent on TikTok, or all my pages Travel with Silent, or of course TrueExclusive. but I'm more active on my travel page because right now I'm traveling in Puerto Rico and posting Puerto Rico content and all that good stuff. You can follow me on YouTube as well, Travel with Silent. But anyway, I constantly talk about how on True Exclusives, I focus on the positivity, and even in my travels, I focus on the positivity of these countries I visit and try to show the positive in these communities that otherwise have a negative stigma, but it doesn't really get a lot of attention. But the minute something negative is said about these people in these communities, it's blowing up and it's all over the news, all over the world, millions of views. So that's kind of what happened with the Huda thing. She did address it remotely. She said, she doesn't stand for bullying. She doesn't want anybody to get bullying, none other racist, whatever she said. It didn't really get picked up. So Huda addressed that, saying, "I said it on this thing, and and I was getting bullied too. I was getting racism too, and I'm stressed. This show, I'm stressed, y'all. This show got me annoyed. I'm just annoyed with Huda that it's fine. You say you're getting racist comments, which she did get certain. They were talking about dropping bombs on her house, on her kid, on her. I did see some of that. It's fine if you're getting. I mean, it's not fine. Let's clarify. I'm not saying it's fine that you're getting racism comments and hate and bullying, whatever. It's not fine, but I'm saying it's fine in the sense of, okay, you're getting that. But right now we're discussing how Alandria and Shelly felt, and there was a big thing with racism with them. It is what it is. You cannot deny it. I did see it. You know what I mean? I'm not always one to want to play up the race card and want to, because sometimes some people say it's a race thing and it's not. But there was a lot of racial things going on with the Shelly and Alandria aspect. So if these two girls are your friend, or even just Alandria is your friend, and she's coming to you saying these things are hurtful, they are hurtful and they're damaging and they're bullying, and I need you to tell your people to stop. You as a friend, and maybe not even as a friend, just as a person, a human to human, you're going to say, oh no, I'm going to make a post and put a stop to this. Point, period, blank, end of story. I don't give a fuck what you got going on in your life. I don't give a if you got comments of your own to deal with, address that as well. You could say that in the damn video as well if you make a video. Or if you write a post, write about it too. There was so much. We were dealing with the borderline racist comments Ciara made. I say borderline because I personally don't feel like she was being racist. But, we were dealing with that topic. We were dealing with this topic. We were dealing with the other girl that got booted out, I think, on the second, third episode, which I don't feel like she was being racist either. But I'm just saying, this racism thing was being talked about a lot, and we saw the racist comments that we were getting, that Alandria and Shelly were getting. So just as a person, as a human to human, you should have done that. She came to you and said it hurt. She's crying to you now, and you're still like, I'm getting racist comments too. I apologize if you feel that way. I said it in the podcast. No, Huda, no. That's not enough. That's not enough. It wasn't spread the way Call Me Daddy was spread. And I love Huda, but that shit annoyed the out of me. I'm done with that topic. I'm done because Huda should have said something, period. She should have. She really should have. And, okay, she didn't, but you're now in this reunion and you're still kind of playing that little dumb shit that you like to play all the time. No, you should have stood your ground in that moment and said, you know what? You're right. I said I was going to make the post. I didn't make the post. I apologize for that. I really love you, Alandria, and I don't want to see you hurt. I don't want no one to deal with rape. I don't know. Huda has a problem with holding herself accountable. And that's just the truth of the matter. Moving right the fuck along, because I'm already stressed. Now I gotta go back to, because that was towards the ending of the reunion. But I gotta go back. So what happened? What happened? Oh, they bring Hannah and Charlie in. I thought it was a sweet moment between Charlie talking about how Amaya voting him off made him feel bad. He felt hurt from that because he felt like they had a genuine connection as far as friends. So he didn't understand why she voted him off. she clarified it a little bit, so they were able to get that together. Then Hannah and Charlie, they talked about their situation. Hannah looked very emotional. Like, even she did end up crying. We'll get to that in a second. But even the minute she came out, she seemed very, like it was a lot for her. Like, it was just, and I guess, everybody's different. Everybody handles things differently. Maybe all this coming together, all the Islanders back in this space, brought back the anxiety of the situation that she was in the villa. Remember, she got booted off. Even me watching the damn show brought all the anxiety back. So, I mean, I get it, Hannah. I want Hannah and Charlie to give it another chance. I really think they could possibly do something. Andy and Ariana did ask them. Charlie said, I don't know, he was kind of like, I don't know, but you never know, sort of kind of thing. But they asked her, and she said, no, I don't see it. Now, I don't know if she said that because she was protecting herself from being hurt, or maybe from rejection, of maybe him thinking no, or maybe they talked in private and we don't know, so that's why she shut it down publicly. We don't know. But I was like, damn, but I do want them to talk. I feel like they could still make something happen. Hannah and Charlie, please. So then they talk about when Hannah got voted off between the girls, and they show the unaired extended clip of them deliberating on who to get rid of. And they felt like, whatever the reason, they discussed it all. And Hannah started crying. I felt so bad for her in that moment because I could imagine she probably felt so close to them. And then they vote you off. You're feeling like, and she said it. She said, I feel better now because I had so many unanswered questions. Like, should I have done something different? Why did they vote me off? And that, so that was a nice moment for her to get clarity. But obviously, it was something that was still emotional for her. And yeah, I felt bad for her in that moment. Then we go on to finally, they bring out Jeremiah. This is like an hour and a half into the reunion, and they finally bring out Jeremiah. Now, the rumors were saying him and Ace got into this big match, and da 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 da. None of that happened. That was all bullshit. That's why you can't believe all the rumors that you read and hear about. So he comes out, and he came to ask questions. Now, we've seen I don't know if you've seen it, but there's a photo going around where he had a book of receipts and stuff that he was bringing to the reunion, but they didn't allow him to have it. I personally feel like they should have let him bring out the damn book. That would have been interesting. But he seemed very focused and knew he had questions to ask. He was standing on business, and he wanted to know certain things. But yeah, he didn't really get into it with Ace. Let me see what I wrote here because I don't really remember. He says he wasn't love bombing. Ace nostrils was flaring, talking about well, he was trying to call out Austin about voting Jeremiah off. And he also said he regretted voting Jeremiah out, saying that Austin should have went home instead. I will say at the end of the bullying discussion, Huda made a comment that I think might not really be focused on a lot, but I caught it. She said something like, you don't got to be close with everybody, but that doesn't mean just because you're not close to them that you hate them. To me, I took that as, well, we're not going to be cool no more, Landria and Shelly. Well, we already know Shelly and her just not meshing anymore. That's over with, which sucks because watching the show, you really felt like these girls were all really going to stay close, and I don't know. It is what it is. Then it ends with was it the heart rate challenge? The heart rate challenge, I think. The challenge where Huda did too much, allegedly. And they teased us saying they were going to play the whole clip. They did play the whole clip. Honestly, I'm on the fence. It didn't seem as much. And I already thought that. I said, this shit had been hyped up so much from the moment we saw it to after the villa to the teaser for the reunion that it's not going to be lived up to that hype. And just like I thought, it didn't. But I was 50-50. I felt like she did do a little extra, but at the same time she was tonguing down Ace. Shelly and Chris were tonguing down, and when Chris and Shelly finished, she just stood a couple of more seconds. It wasn't like she was there for 5 more minutes. It just felt like a couple of more seconds. Yes, she turned her cheeks around and started twerking on Ace, on his chest, not on his face. Cheeks wasn't on his face. She was a little twerky on his chest, and he was touching and grabbing and palming. So I mean, I still stand on Shelly should have been mad at Ace, not Huda. You're talking to Ace. You're exploring Ace. So you need to be mad at Ace. And it's true that if she had done that, they asked Huda, if she had done that to Jeremiah, would you have? She was like, no, I was clapping for everybody. Here she go playing her dumb shit again. No, I was clapping for everybody. I was happy for everybody. I wouldn't care. And they was like, no, with Jeremiah, not with Chris. Because she also said, when you was with Chris, kissing and stuff, I was clapping. And she was like, no, Jeremiah, that's a different thing, which is true. She had just met Chris, essentially, a couple of days in. It wasn't Jeremiah where you would lock the fuck in like y'all was on some, well, literally, but you know. So that's bullshit. Huda knows she lying, because if that was Shelly all over Jeremiah, she would have had a fucking fit. But she want to play her dumb shit. Like I've been saying, the whole episode she's been doing that. Y'all know that face I'm talking about. And Huda, I love you, but you make that damn face all the time. You like to play dumb. You like to play dumb. And that's the part I don't like. When you don't take accountability for your actions or lack of, or whatever. And the reunion is over. I'm done. I'm stressed. Again, as if I was watching the show. I'm glad it's over. It is what it is. Let me know in the comments what you liked, didn't like, wanted to see, didn't see enough of. Do you agree with anything that I said, or don't agree with anything I said? I just want to know your input. Let me know. I'm not crazy on some of this stuff, but you could debate me on other stuff. It's fine. You know, it's an open discussion in the comment section below. So drop a comment and let's keep this conversation going. Deuces. Peace.